All right, now we're live. I don't think we have
All
anybody
right.
in here just yet, but that's okay. Sometimes
It's all
people will be
right.
reading. What's that?
Gonna stay up on your website for a while, right?
What do you mean?
We can so our live streams that we do for Missouri Aquarium Society stay on the website usually forever.
Oh, it stays on my YouTube forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put it on YouTube and I'll put it on Facebook and just YouTube and Facebook. I'll stream it on pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah, no, two people in here right now, so people are starting to
Oh,
pop in.
great.
Sometimes we get up to like 30, 40 people. It all varies, but get more replays, I feel like, than anything.
Yeah, we get just a few people. So we have monthly speakers at the Aquarium Society here, and we get people from all over the world. We got Ty Strydman coming in from Oxford. He's got his new book coming out later this year on beautifully aquascape biotopes. Very excited about that. But, we get 75, 100 people showing up at a meeting. We stream them all on YouTube Live, and we'll get, 5, maybe 20 people on there. But over the next week, we usually get a couple hundred people.
Yeah, no.
And then some of them keep going. Like we've got a few with like 20,000 views, but there's a lot of great content on there.
No, I believe it. No, because you guys get some good speakers. Same with my club. They'll get some people that speak, and I do learn a lot. Sometimes a lot of them are repetitious, but you do learn a lot from different people. I do enjoy it.
No, that's my favorite part of the hobby is you should never get bored. If you're bored, you just haven't explored something new.
That's my way of thinking too. So I'm always buying new fish.
So I was not a planted tank person, really. I mean, I always had plants.
Yep.
But we had Dennis Wong up here a little over a year ago from Singapore. He's the 2-hour aquarist. He's got a lot of great content on his website, but he talked about, a different way of doing high-tech planted tanks, just like super high CO2, super high light, super high flow. And it's insane, like what I'm getting here. Like I cut this in half just a couple weeks ago. And so, helps pay for the fish room, pays for more than the CO2. It's like $23 every about 6 months I have to refill the CO2. But selling, not a ton, but $20 worth of plants out of here every month.
No, that's pretty good.
Sometimes more. Yeah.
The color's
pays for the tank. What's that?
So the color's great on the tank. Like,
yeah.
So
the light's a weak aqua light. It's the most expensive light I ever purchased. I'm always kind of into cheap lights. I mean, I'm mostly a breeder and I use a lot of Java ferns and Anubias and stuff like that. But I was inspired. I tried playing around with CO2 beforehand, but still ended up with a lot of messes, algae, and problems like that. But kind of following his ideas. Big part of the difference is higher CO2, so no fish in here.
Yep.
And then a lot higher flow. So the filter's like size for like a 55 gallon. It's on a 29. I'm going to be fine for a lot of fish. I just have CO2 up. So, but it makes it really easy too. Just I can drain it all the way down if I want to.
Yep.
Fill it back up. But also you can really, really control the nutrients with no fish.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So, yeah, no, it's.
But is it really a fish tank?
Great. Yeah, that's a good question. See, I should even count it when my wife asked me how many fish tanks I have, right?
Yeah, I'm like, there's no fish. Is it really a fish tank?
Exactly. There's one assassin snail in there to take care of the snails that came in. But I don't mind snails at all, but a lot of people buying plants don't want snails, right? So the problem is, though, if you put in a bunch of assassin snails, you'll end up with the opposite problem just with assassin snails. I took down a 5-gallon tank that I must have thrown more than one assassin snail in.
Yeah.
And I pulled out more than 50.
Wow.
Right? Because they'll breed just like bladder snails once they get going. So just put one in here. I don't think anybody minds getting an assassin snail unless they're trying to keep some nerites or rabbit snails or something. Yep. I don't know if they can take them down or not, but.
That's awesome. I never had that much luck with them. Let me read the comments. John and Margaret said hi. Into the Future's in here. Hello, bud. How you doing? You said your plants look awesome in your tank.
Thank you.
Joe's in here. He says, hi, Steve. How are you?
How's it going, Joe?
Yeah, so usually like a 30-second lag between this and the chat.
Sure.
So people usually take a while to respond, but they
Yeah.
actually respond instantly. But they just were in the future. They're behind.
So do you want me to give like a little bit about myself and aquariums, or start showing you some tanks?
If you want, yeah, you can show layout of the room. Just tell us a little bit about you, and then just start banging out tanks. Said you got 60 of them, so and you got 60 minutes, so we're gonna make
60
it snappy.
tanks in 60 minutes. Yeah, we'll see if I can do that. So I'll keep it brief, but apparently this is my fish story. When I was 3 years old, my parents somebody had a cousin in the Navy, and we got to use their apartment in Hawaii. And I couldn't go snorkeling, right? At 3 years old. But I saw koi, big Japanese influence in Hawaii, right? So koi in Hawaii.
Yep.
And I was just enamored. Like they couldn't drag me away. I was kicking and screaming and crying to leave seeing these fish. So they bought me a little fish tank when we got home. Of course, they had to take care of it. We moved after a few years. Fish tank went away. But that never left me. When I was about 9, sold a bunch of my now priceless Star Wars stuff for like pennies on the dollar, right? And used that money, though, to buy my first 20 high. And from that point on, I don't think I have ever been without a tank. So I always had a couple. I ended up teaching 4th grade for years. I had a 120 Malawi biotope and a 135 Congo River biotope. The 120 was in my classroom. The 135 was in the school lobby. Had a few at home. But it wasn't until I got here in St. Louis. I'd had a bunch of kids, 3 kids, and new job, new big job change. And so I'd only kept like 1 or 2 tanks during that time. But one day, got the bug again, and just looking online, found the Missouri Aquarium Society. And I had no idea, having been in the hobby for most of my life, right? 9 years old, living in a bunch of different places, had no idea about that side of the hobby. So finding that was just awesome. So I've become really involved. I'm the vice president now, which means I'm the speaker chair. So I invite people from all over the world. I was telling you earlier, we had Dennis Wong inspired this tank. We've got Ty Stripeman come in from Oxford just tomorrow, actually. Comes into the airport tomorrow night. So it's really amazing to get to meet those folks and to be around just a club of a couple hundred people that are just as into it as me. So I've got 60 tanks. Mine would be considered like a medium-sized fish room in St. Louis. There's a few people with 100 plus. So that's my fish story. So my big interests have been, I was really into pistos, but over the last like 2 years, I saw Mike Helwig's Betta Talk, which is up on our Maasai YouTube under Lives. It's got a labyrinth one, a live food one up there, and wild type Betta Talk. And I got super into wild type bettas and some other labyrinths.
Okay.
So shall I walk you through?
Yes. Anywhere you want to start?
Let me turn this camera around. Let's see, right here. All right. This is a little tiny metal frame. I don't know if you can tell how small it is. It's probably like 5 gallons. Came up at an auction. Just has, I don't know if you can see white clouds in there because it's kind of crazy with hornwort. There's one. Got some yellow tip white clouds. They were just spawning right in the tank, but I'm afraid I gave my last female to a friend. So I either need to get it back from him or find some more yellow tip females. They're a rare variety, a little bit longer fins, and they've got yellow tips.
Can I ask you for a favor?
Yeah.
Can you turn your phone sideways so you have a bigger screen?
Yeah. Is it going to go automatically?
Yep. There you go. Beautiful.
All right. I'm not sure if I'm getting it. It's like super narrow for me.
Oh, it's super big for everybody else.
All right. Great. So I'll try and give you kind of the quick tour. This is just a little inexpensive Aqueon 3-gallon. And I've got least killifish in there, which are not a killifish. Trying to find them. There we go. They are one of the smallest vertebrates. I ended up with a xanthic one in there. You can see right now. I've never seen a xanthic one before, but just popped out. I know they exist, but just a random one. And then it's got little red riding hood shrimp. I don't know if you guys can see that guy in there, but they're like a clear, there's one, white body shrimp with a red head. And they're just a neo. Super easy. Kind of slow to reproduce in here, though. They're pulled out maybe 20. They're called little red riding hood shrimp.
Wow.
I don't know if you can see that, dude. They're actually a bunch of them.
Those are kind of neat.
Yeah.
I like those.
Yeah. I can't remember if I got that from Shrimpy Business or from Grant Eater, Garden of Eater. He's come up here to speak, and I've got a bunch of shrimp from him. He's really good. But they weren't really expensive, but when I've looked back, they're always all sold out. So that's a cool little one. I'm just lighting that with a can light. I actually had to add extra plants because it was getting algae, so that's why it's got red root floater and just a ton of hornwort going on.
Yep.
And then this was my second place winning Wabikusa ball, which is just growing. It's a Japanese art of growing aquatic plants out of water. It looks terrible right now because that contest was like 6 months ago, and I need to rip it up and redo it for next year. I do that kind of in the winter. And then I've got one sad, lonely Notho, the Rami. It's a really uncommon Notho, and the reason they're uncommon is they are a pain in the rear to hatch. So I have not been successful yet. I'm going to get some more. There's a professor down at East Tennessee State University, Tyrone Janade, who's a super Notho expert. He's actually an aging researcher, studies aging. So, Nothos are like the true annuals. But this is a super rare one, not really in the hobby. And I just tried to hatch out my last batch from my pair that I got from Professor Janade. But nothing that is out of there. That was the last batch of eggs. So I'm going to get another young pair from him soon. And then I got to keep my Lukes here. Love these guys. Got these from Josh's Frogs. And trying to find one of the other ones back there. I'm pretty sure I got a male and 2 females, so I'm hopeful to get eggs. They're just now about a year old. So just in the area where they can spawn. This guy is the male here. I can tell because he's got the heart shape. He's also a bit smaller. And they're just waiting for dinner.
It's a lot of fruit flies, huh?
A lot of fruit flies, yeah. But the labyrinths love fruit flies too, so excess can go in some of the tanks. Then I have one very simple, easy coral reef tank. Doesn't have to be terribly expensive. They are kind of a money pit. But it's been propagating. Yeah. It's in an Aqueon 20 long.
Yeah.
I've got 2 20-gallon size aqua clears.
These Kessels?
No, these are actually just Nicru, so they're like $70 a piece. Okay. So more than I spend on just about any other tank for lights, except for the one that I started off with the weak aqua light, but not bad. And then I use these as automatic top-offs. They're like $15 on Amazon for this little thing, but you can get them for $3 on Alibaba. And you just put water bottles. So I just fill those with RO once or twice a week, and it just keeps the salinity perfect. And these are all easy corals. I actually shop like the $5 and $10 racks at my local coral store. And I don't look too hard at like the, like $800 corals. I'd probably kill those. But these are actually, this one's been reproducing. I've been selling these big softy leathers. Got some polyps. They've been really reproducing. I started with like 5 of those. And then these mushrooms, I actually just sold a bunch of these too. So I don't know if you can really get the color on camera. She looks good in person, but that blue light really just gets through on the camera. So I've been, it's definitely been a money pit, but it's producing some. And down here, I've got a lone Episto. He lost his wife, unfortunately. So I got to see if I can find another one. That's an Agazizi. And then I do have, you probably can't see him though, but I've got LO66, the Xingu King Tiger plecos have been spawning in here. So I've got a handful at least of juveniles. I need to rip this apart. You can see a tail there if you look hard.
Yep.
They'll be more active later. These are one of my favorites. This is a Rhinogobius Bumblebee 2. No species name yet. And they spawned for me. As far as I know, I'm the first one to spawn these in the U.S.
That's pretty
I was
cool.
the first one to import them. Me and my friend were the first ones to import them, and sadly, he lost his in a long-term power outage. So they are stream fish. So I have this set up on a manifold system. So you see the power head back behind the Anubias there?
Yeah.
And then under the tank, under the gravel here, there's PVC pipe. Just goes around a big rectangle. And so then there's an intake behind the sponge there. So it's this nice, pretty decent flow going through there. Originally, I'd actually planned to put Hillstream loaches in there, but then the opportunity came up to get these guys. And he's not colored up right now, but when they're fighting or going for females, they get really nicely colored up. So you can see another male. Maybe if we're lucky, they'll start sparring and get their colors on.
Did you get a lot of fry from them?
Not a lot. I had like 5. I
Yeah.
think if I can find where they have a nest and actually pull eggs.
Yeah.
You know, one problem is I usually use sponge filters, so using any kind of power filter with fry is problematic. Most of my tanks are sponge filters, so a lot of times you just end up with a lot of magic fry. Here, I'll probably need to find a nest and put it in like heavy aeration and hatch them out to try and get a lot. There's a female. Females are smart. They hang out right where I feed them. The males just, spend most of their time fighting with each other. So I actually removed a couple males, so there's just a couple in here. And this is my 9-year-old's tank. She's got these blue dragon guppies.
Well, they look
She's a really nice, very prolific guppy. Yeah, and then she's got these longfin paleotis.
Oh, they look great too.
Yeah, these were a gift from a friend. I'm not really into longfin fish, so I wouldn't have gone for them, but I saw them at an auction, and she wanted them. And the bidding just went kind of crazy high, but it turns out that a friend of mine is the one that bred them, and he knew that my 9-year-old wanted them, so he actually gave us a group.
That was nice of him.
Yeah, down here we probably won't be able to see them. I got a couple of rare half-beaks, along with some random cories. But that tank's pretty packed with plants to keep the half-beaks happy, and the water level's way down to keep the half-beaks in.
What kind of half-beaks?
These guys... What's that?
What kind of half-beaks? They're not the celebs?
They are let's see, can you see that? Edbrantidae. Edbranti? I don't speak Latin, but I try.
Yeah, I can barely see that taste.
Oh, there's one. You guys see him? It's hard to tell with the camera there, but he's kind of right in the middle as far as I can tell. It's a dirty tank. Sorry, the glass is dirty. Shouldn't say it's dirty. I do 50 to 80% water changes every 2 weeks. But you'll see, and especially my black water tanks, you'll see a lot of botanicals, a lot more detritus than people are used to seeing in tanks. So these guys are cool. They're called Orange Flame Tetras, and I got a group of like 6 at one of our club auctions. And threw them in here. There are cories in here, and there are also omnivorous plecos, Hypencistrus contradens. And in fact, they lean carnivore. So it's insane to me that I threw these 6 fish in here, just planning to have them as dithers for an episto I've been trying to get. And they just spawned immediately. I've actually sold like 20 out of this tank, and there's still about 20 in there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But it's just crazy to me that these egg scatters would have fry in a tank with cories. And then these are one of my favorites. These are Beta mahakensis. And I think you're going to be seeing some of these soon, aren't you?
I believe so.
That's one of my main females. I actually lost the main male that had been spawning, but hopefully this is a young one right here. I don't see the stripes, but I also don't see the fins yet that I expect from a male. So the funny thing is I have this divider in here because I originally got 2 pairs, and the males apparently are really aggressive. But the funny thing is this divider fell out one night, it fell to the side. I didn't have it in there properly. And so it's open down here at the bottom. And the males would always be on the same side, and they were just totally fine with each other. Just cracked me up. Oh, here's a young male. Look at that. I don't know if it's focusing really well, but hopefully you guys can get the color. Yeah, you can see them flaring a little bit, but they just don't chase that far. So hopefully we'll have some more spawning activity soon. You can see I got a bunch of juveniles growing up. So both sides there. They know it's feeding time. And then these guys know it's feeding time too. These are just croaking gouramis, but they are from a unique collection location. So I got them directly from Indonesia, just like the mahakensis, which are Thai, but I got them from a guy in Indonesia. Jokingly call him, he's my labyrinth dealer. But these guys are a unique collection location, and when they are spawning, the males get stunning. And at this moment, you'll have to take my word for it. See if there are any fry out there. Are a few fry left in this tank. Haven't been able to get them all out. That's my... What's that?
They don't eat their fry?
They will eat their fry. Yeah, I got to get them out.
Oh,
But
okay.
the other problem was I had a pair of Betta Picta that came in with them and weren't labeled, and they looked the same in the bag because the Betta Picta were young and they were about the same size. So I put them all in here when they came in from Indonesia. They were all unlabeled. Yeah, there's my pain in the rear male dominating half, 2/3 of the 20-gallon tank. It's got everybody else over on this side. That's one of them. There's another one. But the problem is I had thrown the Betta Picta in here, and they actually spawned. I was getting them out, and they must have spit one fry. So that's when I realized what they were when they were mouth brooding instead of bubble nesting. And so anyway, I pulled them out, but I missed one fry. And at that same time, once I got them out, the Grommy spawned. So this fry was just like growing up with them, and they look really similar when they're young. Same like colors, right?
Yeah.
And, so this Betta Picta, I realized one day, was eating all the fry. So I finally got that young Betta Picta out of there. Do you see a fry back there? I found one.
Yeah. Floating above the plate.
Yeah. So they might be able to grow up there to some degree, but I'm not sure what percentage they ate versus the Betta Picta. But I do raise a lot of my fish with the parents. I got that from doing a pistos, but you can see this tank to anybody, that's used to like super clean tanks, it's going to look filthy. Like these fresh botanicals actually get like some fungus on them and stuff. I just threw those in there a couple nights ago. But that is where these guys come from. They come from swamps, and they like it swampy. But they still I give a good 50 to 80% water change. I just got one last night, actually. I just did these racks. So I'm feeding the fish. I just use a pump and drain down each tank about halfway or more. And then refill that one with black water, which is just almost 100% RO, soaked with botanicals. So here's the Dennis Wong inspired highlight, high CO2, high flow tank. It's doing really well. And then I've got another tank on a manifold. Hopefully we can see some of the cories. I haven't fed these guys yet tonight, so they're not out and about yet. But these are Sclear Mistax C112s. And they like the high flow stream tank too. But that is one of my favorite cories.
Is it like a Barbados?
Yeah. I've got Barbados just up in the another tank. So really similar. They just don't have a scientific name. Last time I checked, there's a nice male. If we can get around to them. Sorry, the glass is dirty.
Those are awesome looking.
They are, yeah. They've been reproducing for me a bit in the tank, but every time I pull eggs, they fungus. But I just recently saw a different method from Lowell's Fish Lab on YouTube. We've got him coming out to speak, and this is why, actually. I saw this and invited him out here. He's actually pulling these out like killifish eggs and raising them on coconut coir fiber. So I'm going to try that next time because anytime I've pulled their eggs out, they fungus. And I've raised a lot of cories. They don't normally fungus if I hit them with the meth blue and keep the water nice. But these guys, most of their eggs I've lost, unless they're in the tank. I mean, you can see a couple juveniles in there that I just left in the tank. But, I should be able, they don't produce a lot of eggs compared to a lot of cories, but I ought to be able to get a lot more out of them. So this tank I was just using to propagate macroalgae in. I kept a little rabbit fish for a while. I got him as a tiny baby to take care of an algae problem. Of course, he quickly got big, but I was feeding him some of this macroalgae. My kids love this dude. It's a shrimp, just a peppermint shrimp, saltwater. He'll come and eat out of your fingers, though. So he's one of the favorites in the fish room. Here we've just got a widowed Notho. There's a couple other widowed Nothos over here. Go down on Nothos. Oh, but look at this. This guy has a super long name. He is Chroma Aphiosemion Splendiplur. I'll show you that name, but they've been producing in the tank really well. You can see juveniles. I got to start pulling out juveniles. But just lots of juveniles in this tank, especially when I throw the brine shrimp in.
So they will hatch out in the tank with them? You don't have to do that incubation at all with those species?
Yeah, with most of them you don't. With the Nothos you do. But with most of these guys, no, they'll just actually water incubate for about 2 weeks, depending on the species and the temperature. But no, if you have lots of plants in there, no doubt they eat some. But I'm also doing the same way with Fundulopanchax gardneri. Gardneri is one of the easiest ones. These guys are just as easy. I mean, this is just a 5. with a trio in it. And my main problem is I got to pull out fry because it's going to get overcrowded. There's a female. And I do have a mop back there because they love to spawn in the mop. It's a great place for the fry.
Yeah.
But they do not need, you don't have to pull it out. You can, but honestly, like I can see like a dozen fry in here. And I've only had these guys since, earlier this year. So they're just easy. And that's a really pretty one. They're not shy. A lot of the Aphyosemians are really shy.
Yeah.
But I love these guys. I don't know if you can find them anywhere. I got this from a guy who's like really big into killifish, who's been for a long time. Charles Harrison here in St. Louis.
Well, when you're ready to get rid of some fry, I'd love to get a pair from you.
Yeah. I'll raise those guys up a little bit more, but it shouldn't be long. These are the Barbatus.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah. And I don't have them on a stream tank. Someday I might redo this one as a stream tank, but I did throw in a power head there for them. And I've been trying to pull eggs. I did like a couple weeks ago, but same problem I always have. So I'm going to try Lowell's method because he had some good success with it.
I think it's just like lower the pH with the moss. Is that why?
No, I think it's getting them out of the water so they don't fungus.
He legit just hatches them on just the moss?
No. Sorry. He raises them up for about 2 weeks there and then pops them into water. It's watching the egg development. It's more work than I usually do. I'm usually, spawn in the fish tank and raise your fry until they're a few months old.
Yeah.
That's my preference. I love fish parenting behavior. It's one of the reasons I've loved Apistos. I love to watch fish parent. Most of the wild type bettas, especially the mouth brooders, are really good parents. The bubble nesters are like, other bettas. They raise them till they're free swimming, but then they usually leave them alone, like the Mahakensis. So these guys over here are the Betta Picta that were the problem in the Grommy tank, but that's my fault, not theirs. We've got a few fry in there. They're mouth brooders. You can see a juvenile back there.
Yep.
They're not a colorful one. They've got fun personality when they're not eating my other fry. But we won't see anything probably in here unless there's live food in the tank. I've got some Betta Indra older males and Betta brownum. Spawning a few of those. There's actually one of them. They're actually real pretty. Sorry that I never look at the glass on these tank top. He's looking real beat up actually and old. I've had these guys since 2022. That's about a year past their typical life expectancy.
Yep.
And then here, I saw you had a nice video on your YouTube. I looked it up the other day, and on spawning more CPDs. So I got to try that because I've just been spawning them in the same tank, but I don't get that many. So I need to start doing your moss jar method.
Oh yeah,
pulling that out.
Luck with that method.
Yeah. So and then, I got to catch these guys while they're out. They're super shy though. These are a Pseudomcgill Gertrude from a different collection location. These are Giddy River, which really aren't in the hobby. They probably never will be because they're really shy. And they're not nearly as pretty, honestly, as like the Aracus or other Pseudomcgill Gertrude. But I'm helping to maintain the population. Otherwise, it just won't be available at all in the hobby. Oh, here I just got a new pair of licorice grommies from Indonesia. Hardly been able to see these guys. These are Parsimonius Bonicurius. Just got those guys in earlier this month, straight from Indonesia. So a lot of work to conserve these guys because of habitat loss in Indonesia. So I'm going to try my hand at breeding. Got 3 different species now. Same thing with Betta ubris. Had these for a while. You can tell, like, new tank, all these fresh botanicals. Looks a little different than the Grommy tanks, but these both have pairs of Betta ubris, which is one I'd kept before, given away a lot. And then, unfortunately, I suddenly lost the tank. So wanted to get some more so I can keep reproducing those. They're a tiny little bubble nester, pretty shy. Real pretty, but they're probably going to be extinct in the next few years. Oops, I just scared my angels. So this is one of my other CO2 tanks, and it is a mess right now because I let the CO2 run out. So it's got algae growing everywhere. But I've got some AA koi angels in here. These are actually my second generation. I raised about 500 from their parents. I kept a group, but these 2 paired off. So I might collect eggs, but first I got to get rid of this dude. Got a friend who's like the default turtle rescuer for St. Louis. That's a little stink pot, eastern musk turtle.
Oh yeah.
Female. But anyway, he's become like the default turtle rescuer. And he had this little girl who's great. That's as big as they get. They live almost completely in the water, almost completely aquatic. But anyway, there was a elderly gentleman who had a whole bunch of red-eared sliders and other turtles who couldn't take care of them anymore. So my friend ended up taking all those and needed somebody to foster a few other turtles for a while. So we took that stink pot. But I'm looking forward to getting that tank back because I can't raise a batch of angels without it. So these are Betahindra, the babies. I mean, they're juveniles I just got in from Indonesia. Got some adult males, but haven't had any females in a while. So hoping to get these reproduced because that's another one that's critically endangered because of habitat loss. Not because of aquarium collections, important thing for people to understand. It's because of agriculture, especially like palm oil plantations, other issues like that.
Okay.
Over here, we've got some more licorice scrummies.
Yours are really out and about. Every time I had licorice scrummies, all I did was hide.
Yeah, they're ready for dinner. I feed them at almost exactly the same time every night, so they're a little mad at me right now because I'm a little bit late.
Okay.
But I'll go through and give them some brine shrimp in a minute. These guys have not been shy. How much of a glare of me you're getting, but these are the Nagy. Just got these from Wet Spot, and they came in really healthy. Those are 2 females. Really nice. There are 2 males in here and 4 females. Oh, there's a male in back. I don't know. Can you guys see him?
Yeah.
Trying to keep him in the center of the camera there. Yeah. They get gorgeous. So I'm hoping I'll get some spawning activity out of these guys. They've been pretty out and about. So, but yeah, you can tell these tanks that I more recently set up. This one, I just got these guys back in April, March. Got them in March. So all these fresh botanicals in here. You can see it's starting to decompose a little bit.
Yep.
But that's good stuff for these fish. They're just always on the hunt. I feed them mostly lives. I have found that they'll eat those Zoomed Cyclops that I get in cans, but then I freeze them in little cubes.
Yeah.
But just a tiny bit, man. These fish are small. I tried an adult brine shrimp, like a frozen adult brine shrimp, and they could not even swallow it. That's just how like tiny these guys are, and they have tiny mouths. But they love Daphnia. They love baby brine shrimp. I feed them grindle worms. So, yeah, you can tell I just set this one up really recently. All the fresh botanicals, and you come over here. I threw some new ones in, but this one's been set up a little bit longer. You can just see how dark it is too. All the same material. But that's where these guys come from. Betahindra, most of the wild type bettas. Especially the bubble nesters need really a soft, acidic, tannin-stained water. And then, they do pretty well. Hopefully, these guys will do well.
It looks like a staircase.
This right here?
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know the name of it. A friend brought this back from a trip to Bonaire. He brought back a bunch of them. He gave me a couple, which I snapped in half. I tested it out in a tank with some super hardy fish to make sure it was safe.
Yep.
And they were fine. So then I tested it out over here. And this tank, I need to find out what it is from him because it'd be great to get. So this tank is exactly the same age setup as this one. Almost identical botanicals, same exact sand, same water change schedule. The pH in this tank is almost 7. It's still like 6-8. In this tank, the only big difference is this seed pod. And the pH here is, last time I measured it was 6.1. So it's dropping a lot faster. I wanted to get it to like 5.5 for the licorice scrummies. It's more than I usually bother playing with pH, but they're getting almost straight RO. And then all these botanicals. And then I do my blackwater, I actually keep here. So it's got tons of leaves and alder cones down at the bottom. I collect my own oak leaves from the backyard every fall.
Okay.
So I use a lot of those. Like people don't have to spend a lot of money on botanicals. Like oak leaves are great. I wish I had a source of alder cones. Should be really cheap. They're not that expensive online though, but alder cones are great. I just got some cenopods too. So coming over, I got this rack here. It looked like 9 tanks, but one is just a sump for the top 6. And then these 2 down here, just additional Cares fish. So a lot of Cares fish on here, or schooling fish that I'm waiting to have a chance to spawn. So these are Cares sword, bronze sword, Calmini. These guys are a little bit shy right now, but they spawned for me already once in the tank, but I'd really like to get them into like a 20 long with a bunch of moss for a week or 2 and then pull them back out. So I really like these. These are the yellow phantoms. They're really nice schooler. I have actually about 20 in there, and you'd see that if I was feeding them. Otherwise, they kind of just sit there in the plants. And then one of my absolute all-time favorites, the glass catfish. Got about a dozen in there. And these guys go from only eating live foods. They will eat flakes off my fingers now.
Have you got them to spawn?
I have not. No. I got them. They're pretty young. I got them a while ago, but they're nice and big now.
Yep.
So hopefully I can throw them into a, like a 20 long over a lot of moss and gravel. I'll just try the same thing I try with others. Give them some caves maybe. There's very little info I've found on them. So, but if you keep these, you got to keep them in a large school, and then they will be your friends. They'll be great. If you just get 2 or 3, they will just die off most of the time. I'm sure there are exceptions, but get a dozen if you can. They just love being in a nice school. Here, I've got some longfin cherry barbs. I spawned once, but they're so pretty. The male's really stunning, so I'm going to spawn them again. They're just kind of being held in here right now. That's what I use this system for. I can't put any new fish in here. They've all got to be fish that I've had that are disease-free. Not much to look at these tanks, but I'm about to put ember tetras out into a tub pond. So that's what's hanging out in here. But I got to wait for the outside temperatures to get a bit warmer. It's not warm enough outside for embers yet. See, in here, I've got tons of Coryhabrosis breeding. So lots of juveniles. It's a great one. It's a little bit bigger than a pygmy cory, but they act like a regular cory. So it's probably the smallest other than Pygmaeus. I don't know that for sure, but it's the smallest one I can think of other than Pygmaeus. And then I have this, just got this colony back, actually. I'd given away lots of these yellow grass guppies years ago, and somebody just brought me 150. They couldn't take care of them anymore. So I took 150 to the store, and then I kept just a couple of the nicest males, and you can see they're producing really well.
They're nice looking, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the most prolific guppies I've ever had. I'm not a big guppy person, but guppies always sell.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have guppies, and they don't cause any problems for each other. Like the main point of this tank is these Habrosis are just going at it. I've got tons. I mean, you can't see how many are in there, but at feeding time, this area just fills up. Down here, we've got, oh man, I hope I didn't lose my label. These are Limia zonata. I should know that. I just did an article on them. So there's a male chasing a female right there. There's the male. So this is a critically endangered one from Hispanola. Really cool Caribbean live bear. We don't always think of freshwater Caribbean fish, but they're Limia and other fish on a lot of those islands. And then these guys are the Doadri. I think you said you had these before.
Yeah, I had a huge school one.
Pinatoka, yeah. Well, I've given away so many of these here locally, and look how many I have in there.
Yeah.
I don't know how many I started with, but 2 pairs or something. They're just wild. There's tons of, tons of plants, tons of spirulina flakes, some live baby brine shrimp, and they just go. All right, we're on the last rack.
How we doing on time for you?
Yeah, I'm trying.
I didn't check time. What time? I know you were.
It's 9:40. I saw that. 8:40 my time. It's going to be 9:40 your time.
Oh, yeah, so we're doing
Yeah,
good.
I'm translating. So I'm going to throw some baby brine shrimp in this tank and hope that I can draw these out because these are the coolest fish nobody's ever seen.
Are these the micro?
So actually, these are the dwarf centipede knife fish.
Oh.
And they have I never saw them. I got them in October 2024 until just like a couple weeks ago. They started coming out when there's food in there, at least some of them. I've got about 11, I think, in there.
Okay.
Got 12 over time. I got 6 at first. I lost one right away, and then I was able to get 6 more. So I think there are 11 in there, but you never see them. They're very nocturnal, but they are a knife fish that only gets to be about 3 inches. And their body weight is like on par with a cardinal tetra. They're so cool. But if I can train them to come out during the day at all, even just like at night before lights out. So I was checking on them with a headlamp at like 2 in the morning for a while, just to make sure they were still there. But they're the coolest fish. If they don't come out, I'll have to like send you a picture. Or people can look them up. They're available from Aqua Imports. That's where I got the original group. And then my local fish store got them in. That's how I got the second group of 6. They got them in from Aqua Imports, but I was actually able to get them from my local fish store cheaper because they had covered shipping. And so they got some nice wholesale price.
Nice.
So let's see. I've got a couple. It's supposed to be a pair of Erythura, but it turns out they're 2 females. And I've got some Julii cories that I just scared away in there. There's a female Erythura because I'm 99% sure at this point they're both females. Here, I should have thrown some food in here earlier. I've got a nice big colony of these fancy red tiger shrimp.
Okay. I like those.
Yeah, these are really nice. I've had these since this colony going since 2021. Just nothing but feeding a couple times a week and doing, like a 5-gallon water change. I do use RO water that I remineralize. That's the one challenge with these guys, but you can see they're like, I haven't changed the substrate. I haven't done anything other than those water changes and feeding them a couple times a week. And you can see I'm getting lots of little ones still. And honestly, this is a tank that helps pay for the fish room. These guys used to sell for $25 a piece. Now they're down to selling for about $12 a piece. It's got more common. It's not that hard, but they're really beautiful. They're Caridina. That's why they need the remineralized water.
Well, they breed them so heavily in Asia too. They send them over here by the thousands.
Yeah, right. Anybody that gets them from me, if you keep them with the water that I recommend, you will produce them. That's the other challenge. I've been selling them here for 4 years in St. Louis. So if people want them, by this time they should have them. Yep. All right, this is my favorite fish at the time. This is my 2nd generation. So here's male Betta palafina, and there's female. I finally lost my old male, but he produced somewhere in the ballpark of 200 fry. So they're a paternal mouth brooder. So dad holds the eggs in his mouth for 2 to 3 weeks. So these guys, and then the fry, right? These guys I've seen hold. They're still young. They actually get not twice that big, but 50% larger. So you can see, like, I'm a 6.5 foot tall guy. There's my finger. You start to get an idea. Like, he's thicker than my index finger. But I love these guys. Look how personable and interactive they are. Like, even though I'm holding the phone up, which they don't always see, like, They know I mean food.
So I wish mine were like that. I have a trio of them, and they're about, but they don't come up to me like that. And my male keeps he breeds every like 4 or 5 days and just swallows.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so they will go at it too fast. I actually had to keep my former male and female separated for gaps of time. One, just to be able to sell off all the juveniles, but also I got worried about the male because he doesn't eat or rarely eats for 3 weeks when he's holding.
Yeah. How long did it take for they started to go full term for you?
Oh, how old were they? I got them when they were adults. They were wild caught adults, the first pair. These are my F1s that I kept.
So I got F1s off your guy. He got some red variant, black water.
Yeah, these guys haven't produced fry yet. I know he's been holding a couple of times. So, but I think just too young still.
Okay.
I mean, they don't look young. I'm sure they're capable, but it takes them a while to learn. I don't know. His parents were great parents. I was able to keep all the fry in with the parents, so I just had to take them out because of space.
Yep.
All right. Here are Betta Eunice. And one of the parents is kind of lurking down there, waiting for dinner to come in. Probably annoyed that I've left these guys in here too long, but they are hopefully heading out soon.
Yeah, hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah. So I'm supposed to work on this evening. So if you can see, they're looking great. I mean, they're starting to, like, you can see that one's almost certainly a male right there. This one's so big, it's hard for me to call it a female, but if I just had to guess right now, they're not the easiest one to sex, but I just love these guys.
Yeah, Jeff has a question for you. He says, "What do you use to
Yeah,
remineralize the RO for the shrimp?"
yeah, it's a great question. So I actually just use this product right here. It's called B Shrimp Mineral GH Plus. So you just take RO and I mix about a spoonful into a 5-gallon bucket. And then I use a real cheap TDS. All right, just drop that bottle. Hopefully it didn't break. I just use a real cheap Amazon TDS meter. And I aim for 160, but anywhere in that ballpark, 150, 180, that's what you're aiming for. So, but they don't need a heater. They're really pretty easy. Again, I should have thrown some food in there earlier because it brings them all out to the front. Otherwise, they scatter. And these guys aren't going to show up without food in the water. They're all mad at each other right now, but you're also helping me take care of that problem because I've got 5 in here and there's a pair. And they used to all be nice brothers and sisters, but now they hate each other. So that's bet up a Tweety. I think you can see one back in there, 2 of them back in there. So they're ready to be separated out. They're a mess too. I've got an extra power filter on there. And they're jumpers, right? So I got that down. About 3 inches, 4 inches there, and almost completely well covered, but especially since I have the power filter on there, I drained it down another inch or so. All right, I'm just growing out 2 different groups of fry, and there's an old sunfish in there as well as some of his fry. And then just by happenstance, I don't see any right now, there are a few volcano fry. I actually got rid of my volcano killies, but this was the tank they were in. I moved the young sunfish in here. And there you can see a juvenile. There's dad in the back, juvenile up front. Moved those guys in here, but then found there were a couple of the volcano killies left some eggs, so that was cool. And then this is a super cool plant. What's up?
So I always love having a fun surprise after you clear out a tank.
Right? Yeah, Better Rubra does that to me. Killies do that all the time because they just leave their eggs. The eggs take like 2 weeks to hatch, so I have to think back what fish did I have in that tank. So I found 2 of them. It's my note on there. I use chalk marker a lot. Help me remember those things. But this plant's really cool too. This is a carnivorous plant. And it's a utricularia. It's a bladderwort aria called golden bladderwort. And I just got that back in March from my friend here, Andre. But I thought I made a mistake because I forgot that I had thrown, this tank just didn't have any duckweed in it. It was a nice, easy tank to throw a floating plant into. And didn't really think about it, but I'd actually added like a tablespoon of salt to this tank. And if you know carnivorous plants, usually they cannot handle that at all. They can't usually even handle tap water.
Yeah.
This one has just been thriving and growing. Now, since that point, I got rid of those killies and I did a good 90% water change. But it's just been a super happy plant. It's really pretty. And sorry, this is my end tank here. All the cords go up past it, but it's a cool, it doesn't eat fry. I do not know that there's any bladderwort that goes in the water that could actually eat fry. I do not believe it. I get the string bladderwort in with tiny fry. Somebody'd have to show me a picture of a fry being eaten by one of those. They can eat brine shrimp. That's where I get them. All right, these are my old bushfish. Love these guys. This is really my Congo biotope, but at some point I threw in a Siamese algae eater. And before it was my Congo biotope, I was breeding super reds. And so I've got a pair of super reds that must have been tiny, tiny fry when I reset this tank. I drained it down like 90% of the way, pulled everything out. But you can tell these guys are my pets right here.
Yep.
Big Tenopoma leopard bushfish.
Well, they look great.
But because I love these guys, when I learned about the micro Tenopoma, I had to get them. So getting down here on the floor. But these are some of my last remaining juveniles. I spawned these guys twice. So first batch, they just had about 20. Second batch, they actually had close to 50. So these are the juveniles. Got my note there that I need to get these guys out of here as they're getting too big, but I got rid of most of them. Just have about a dozen left. There's mom. She doesn't see food, so she's not coming out. But juveniles just see me, so they think that there's going to be food for sure. And dad lives in that's in a pisto pot. So I've got a zillion of these drilled like that with a step bit. Just kind of like a 3/4 inch hole for female pistos to get through. But I threw a bunch of different caves in here for them to try out, and that is what they spawned in. So
they spawn in the cave.
They're a really cool fish. What's that? They spawn. Yeah, they're a bubble nester, but they actually take their bubbles under the water and find a secret location.
Oh, okay.
So,
I thought I had to put them in a shallower tank to get them to breed. So I actually just got to give them caves so they can create a bubble underneath.
Yeah, just give them caves. Just have a slow sponge filter back there. I did heat it kind of moderately. I think it's about 75 in there. I actually don't have a thermometer on here right now, but
yep.
We'll call that 75. Yeah, and then the parents will eat anything. Actually, they've even started. I've fed the babies crushed flakes, and you'll see the parents out eating the crushed flakes. They love the bug bite pellets, the fluval bug bites, and then they get brine shrimp, frozen thawed brine shrimp, and occasional bloodworms. I'm always careful about feeding my labyrinths too many worms. They're just generally lazy fish, and worms are it's a lot of food for a lazy fish. But this tank, I've got a pair of Apisto Panduro that haven't spawned for me yet, but there's female. My male is actually starting to look old, unfortunately, and then I got some Beckford eye pencils back in there. His dithers. Thing's looking pretty green. Over here, I got these aquarium strain wrestling half-beaks. One of them, this guy's developed like a tumor or something on his back, unfortunately. They're not even that old. So that might be a result of being the aquarium strain, being overbred.
That happened with mine, too.
You got some of those, too?
I had some of those, too, and they developed tumors, too.
Yeah, I bet that's a problem they're going to have because I got him young, and he's not old. I mean, he's full grown, but he's like a really old fish getting a tumor. I don't think anything's wrong with the line, but yeah, I'm not going to sell any of those guys. Maybe until I get to a third generation, because they do have some young. Like there's one way in the back corner there. So have a lot of plants because they will eat their fry. Really cool fish. These red lizard whiptails. You can see him there on the log.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've got a group I've grown out from juveniles. Oh, look at this. This is 2 tanks over from the 10-gallon. Microtenopoma and Sorghai, I made it over, the dwarf bushfish. What is he doing? Look at this. He came from here, 3 inches down, 4 inches between a 10-gallon and a 20-gallon. Did he flop on the lid? Because I keep these tanks closed, too. I guess I just left that one open a little bit, and he made it over here, 2 tanks over. And look at this. There's another one. And the tank next to it. Dude, look at this. 10 gallons. So he's got to make it up out of here. This is where I feed him. I shouldn't have left that open, but I did leave it open. I never had a problem. 1 in here. Barely keep that open. Nobody's a jumper in that tank, though. Really. Boom. 2 tanks over. That's ridiculous.
The height, that jump, that's ridiculous. Yeah, the height.
Look at that. I mean, they're called climbing perch, but who would think these little juveniles? Mom and Dad never left. I never had an adult jump. But I guess the babies got fed up. I had too many babies in there for a while. But yeah, anybody want to come over and help me catch this guy out? 20-gallon high with that plant mass in it. Oh, and then this dude, I actually swiped at him with a net twice. That's the other problem. They are smart. They're smart like a cichlid, but faster. But he's going to be a gorgeous male, I think. We'll see.
Yeah, it looks
nice. It's a male, though. Yeah, he's bigger than any of the others. What's he eating in this tank? Probably just gets more food without having his brothers over here. It's anything that passes by the half beaks, he gets it before it hits the whiptails. So this tank, I'm breeding green dragon, bristlenose, and this is my old female. She's a widow now. I needed a place to put her. And this 20-gallon, look at what these plecos have done. This is formerly driftwood. I feed these guys so much, too. I throw like 20 pellets in here every night. But I just took a bucket. There's a large male in the back there. I just took a big bucket. They're green dragon, short fin green dragons. If you can see them.
Too, it looks like, huh?
They've just destroyed everything up here. But yeah, they still have a bunch of fry in there. I took a bunch to my local fish store, but they've just destroyed. That was a nice big Java fern they've destroyed. It's just crazy to me because I feed them so much.
I'm surprised
Oh,
they eat your plants. Mine never touched the plants.
there were just so many fry in there, even though I was feeding them so much.
Yeah.
So we just lost. I saw the female. I've got a new pair of Microtenopoma fasciatus in here. So actually like 16 species of the Microtenopoma, like the Ansorgii.
Yep.
But she disappeared the second she saw the camera. She wasn't cool with that. She doesn't want to be on film. So just got some Aeneas cories in here. I don't pull those eggs anymore. I think that group that I got had some issues. So don't pull their eggs anymore, but just let them live out their life. Hoping they wouldn't interfere with these guys spawning. And over here, you won't see them right now, but at about 11 p.m., 12 a.m. my time when I feed them, this tank has a dozen large upside-down cats. That's another one I would love to put into a 40 and see if they could spawn. Nobody spawns them, but...
Was that the featherfin cat?
They're the upside-down cats, so they're different than the featherfins.
Oh,
They
the
only get to
smaller
be...
pieces.
Yeah, they only get to be like 4 inches.
Yep.
They're nice and big and chunky. And then in here, I have a group of Synodontis grandiops, which are apparently, according to one of the experts in the field, one of the first people to spawn Synodontis multipunctatus, believes that the true multipunctatus does not really exist in the hobby, that almost all the ones we see in the hobby are actually Synodontis grandiops. They look almost identical. You've got to be basically an ichthyologist to tell the difference, except that multipunctatus take years more till they can spawn, and they get much larger. Grandiops stops at about that same like upside down cat size, about 4 inches with the tail.
Yep.
So I've got a group in here, but I had some cichlids in here, some Kionga flamebacks, a Zistochroma species, and they were too smart and too mean for the catfish. So they're a cuckoo spawner, right? They sweep in. Well, the cichlids are spawning, eat the cichlid eggs, lay their own eggs, dash off. Mama cichlid grabs up all the eggs, raises the catfish. Pretty wicked. And then the catfish babies also hatch before any cichlid babies that remain. They eat the cichlid babies in the mother's mouth. So I was trying to spawn these grandiops, but those cichlids just were beating them up. So I'm going to switch to an easier going, the easiest going African mouth brooder I can find. So I just got rid of those cichlids, and the catfish have been shy ever since. So kind of miss them coming out. All right, I was going to come up and see if any of the knives are out. Oh, okay, you're going to see one inside the PVC. Hopefully there. You see that?
See a little movement, yeah.
Yep, up here's one.
Oh, there he is.
You get an idea of how tiny these knives are. Like, I bet that they weigh about the same. They're longer, but they only weigh about the same as like a full-grown cardinal.
Kind of look more like a pipefish than they do a knife fish from this angle.
Yeah. Except they do have the knife fish fin thing going. So, and I did finally see them eat frozen food because they finally started coming out during the light. I tried some of the Cyclops, the Zoomed Cyclops I get in freeze.
Yep.
So I'm hoping I can get these guys more and more acclimated, coming out, eating food, and get an actual F1 generation, because these are wild collected. Apparently they're not uncommon in South America, because nobody was ever collecting them. And they're going to be hard to get in the hobby unless you can get them acclimated to prepared foods. There's a good shot of one.
Oh, yeah. What are they, like 4 inches?
Maybe, but they're so small. Yeah, I guess I would call it. It's like 3.5, 4 inches long.
Yep.
But I swear it must weigh as much as like an adult cardinal. They're just so slender.
There's another one out in the
Sorry,
back.
I'm trying to get it without all the glare. The trick, I got basically a big U shape in my fish rooms. So they're almost always tanks opposite. Works well till you try and get it on camera. Anyway, I'm really excited about this fish. I love knives, but almost all of them get way too big. Now, will they spawn? I don't know, but whoever gives it a shot with an actual, like a ghost knife or even a glass knife or any of those others who has like a big group, because they're really social. Like they're always interacting. I can see them look like they're fighting there.
Yeah. We have a couple questions for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shirley wants to know, she has both the Volcanum and the Splendopalur Achilles. So what is
Oh
the
yeah,
key to get
nice.
them spawn and hatch? What's your secret?
So no secret. Those guys are just in a 5-gallon tank. So are you sure you have a pair? How's my video aspect? Because I just see like my eyes now. Should I set it
Hey,
back?
no, you look good. I just see the
Put it
hatch.
back upright. Look good to you.
Uh,
So one, are you sure you have a pair of the Splendipler? And so the males and females look really different. And then just provide a lot of plant cover, and then feed baby brine shrimp every single day. If you feed baby brine shrimp just as a habit, you're going to end up with fry that you didn't know that the parents had spawned, because they're just going to grow up in the tank because they have a food source. If they don't get that food source in the first week of life, they're not going to survive. You may never see them. So I think that's probably your number one thing. I don't know what the Boston tap water's like or wherever your person's at. Here in St. Louis, we have a TDS is like 220, 250, depending on the time of the year. But in the county, in St. Louis County, they artificially raise the pH really high because apparently it's better for old pipes. So it comes out of the tap close to 9 pH. But I age my water overnight. I use a 55-gallon drum. It's actually, I'll turn the camera around again because it's right on the other side of the camera. Well, never mind. Yep, there it is. Sorry, I'm used to like zoom. It's a little bit different. So I'm using this 55-gallon barrel here. I've got a pump down in there. Got a hose made and end with PVC that's up here. So I can do, you see that 55% water changes, or 50, to 80% water changes every couple weeks.
yep.
And then the water though ages overnight. The pH drops down to like 7.5 from like 9 overnight. So I treat it in there. I heat it just overnight at least. Usually it's 24 hours because what I do is I do a rack a night. I try to. If I'm really tired, I skip it, but I try to just go through the room. So I get it done about every 2 weeks, where I just take a pump, drain the water straight to my utility sink, drop it down to the next tank, drain the water to the utility sink. And so I do, roughly 100 gallons of tanks a night and pump it back from the 50-gallon barrel. Or the 20-gallon that I showed you where I make black water, if it's one of my black water tanks.
Okay.
So I just feed the rest of the tanks while I do that. So usually, I could spend all day in here, but usually I spend about an hour on a work night. And the night, I don't really like watching TV. So, I can put on a YouTube video and listen to it, or put on a podcast, like the Watercolors podcast, and just feed the fish and drain down a group of tanks and pump the water back in. So, but there's nothing special about the water conditions required for those guys. They don't need black water. Like I do a lot of black water fish, but most of them don't need it. So your tap water is probably not the issue. I would guess just a lot of plant cover and or spawning mops. That's another good thing, or both is what I have. And then feed them baby brine shrimp. You do that every night. The babies will have something to eat when they first hatch, and they can take a baby brine shrimp. Almost every single killie can. There are rare exceptions, but
Yeah.
almost every killie can take a baby brine shrimp from the moment it hatches.
Yeah, she said she has, pretty sure she has 100% their pairs. They're in a 10-gallon. She feeds baby brine every day, very often, almost every day. And
Yeah.
she's only had them for less than 2 weeks. So
Oh, well, it takes 2 weeks for the babies to hatch, approximately. Depends on the temperature. But so you're going to get babies soon. You're doing all the right things.
All right. Joe has a question for you, too. Where are your Odessa barbs?
I sold them all, Joe. So Andre, who Joe will know, but he's a friend in the aquarium club here. He's also on council. He's a big plant guy, but I got him going on breeding now. So he got the most points ever in our 50 plus, 60 plus year old club. He got them all in like less than 2 years. He's the #1 horticulture awards program. I don't know how many thousand points, but anyway, got him into breeding. he has a 200-gallon Peninsula tank, brilliantly lit because he's super into plants, and he got 100 odesivarbs from me and has them in that tank. They are phenomenal looking. I mean, they look good anywhere, but these are the Greg Sage. He's a guy in Denver who does selective breeding of odesivarbs and other fish to bring back really the original color. He's not doing it to get like some weird color strain, right? The ones you see in a pet store have been just done in farms where they haven't paid attention to how the males actually can look.
Yep.
So these guys are so red. Once they hit sexual maturity, the males are just phenomenal. So anyway, I got some from him when I was returning from a trip in Denver, brought them home, produced several hundred fry. I think Joe tried to get some from me. We had trouble with the U.S. Postal Service. I think Joe ended up getting them from Greg Sage. He sells them online. But after I, sold several hundred to kind of saturate the St. Louis market, I don't normally ship. But anyway, I ended up giving the breeders to Andre so I could make room for new projects. All these, I just got in 6 or so new species from Indonesia. So things I'm trying to bring into the hobby that really aren't, and things that need to be done in the hobby because they're going to go extinct in the wild, probably. Hopefully not, but not because of hobbyists, but because they tear up the swamps in Indonesia to plant palm oil, put in our crackers and our desserts, unfortunately.
All right, you got that, Joe?
So sorry, Joe. Yep, I got rid of the breeders. But you got them from Greg Sage now, right? So you should be producing them, at least soon. I don't know how old they are, but...
He got them. He already bred them. He bred them without even trying.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
25, 30 fry. It was about 3-4 months later, and they're already adults.
Nice. Yeah, they grow fast, too. I'm used to, much slower growing fish. Those Odessas, they were ready to go in, 6 to 8 weeks. They're ready to be out of the house.
So that's
I'm looking at a lot of fish I have need 6 months.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, I have to ask for exceptions on our Breeders Award program in our club because they want them in 2 to 3 months. I've got fish that I'm not ready to bag up at 2 to 3 months because they're just too small. I'm afraid they're going to die. I'd rather not get the points than have the fish die, so I just asked for an exception. Well, I like stuff that's slow. So a lot of times that's why they're not available in the hobby or why they're more expensive. Some of the apistos, some of the not the mouth brooders. The mouth brooding bettas grow pretty fast, but some of the bubble nesters come out real tiny. So
okay,
that's how it goes. Any other questions on there?
No, looks like that was the only questions we had for the time being.
All right. Well, man, it was great being on your show.
I appreciate coming here. I really enjoyed your fish room. I definitely now I want to get some more Barbados from you in the future.
Yeah, we'll see if I can produce those, the Sclear Mystax.
Yeah, they were nice. I really liked the, what else did you have?
Yeah, I've got the Sclear Mystax, the C112s, and the Barbados. They're both amazing.
Oh, you had an awesome fish room. I really enjoyed it. I know what to expect from the future.
Yeah. Thanks so much for checking it out. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you, brother. And I love the planted tank behind you. It makes me want to do CO2, but I really don't want to do it.
You better be careful. I could talk you into it because I was kind of against it. I'm like, why? Because you have the initial setup, right? You're spending about $200 regulator, getting your first tank. I run 2 tanks off a regulator. One of them I've got some algae problems with right now, so not selling plants out of there. But this one, like I said, it's not a fortune, but I can easily make $20. If we have a swap or something, I can easily make $50. I'm going to save some of the slower growing rare stuff for the swap so I can sell it for what I want to.
Yep.
But, this stuff, I can do a big trimming here. I could divide that easily in half, still make everybody very happy. I could right now make $15 or $20 in portions from this one plant, sell those locally. So, and it's beautiful. It's what people notice in my fish room, which should bother me because I have all these cool fish, but.
Well, yeah, I have
don't know, man.
No, I get it. I have one planted tank, but it's more of a jungle.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that is the trick. My friend was teasing me that this was going to become a jungle, but if I can cut stuff and turn it into a $20 bill, and it grows right back anyway. Then I'll actually cut it.
Yeah. Well, might as
Plus,
well.
because he was teasing me that it was going to be a jungle in no time, that eggs me on to trim it a little bit more often.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like I just neglect this. I have a 50-gallon low boy. It's just
Oh, nice.
I just let it just grow. I really
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. Now, I will say, if you want to do like a plant where you're actually selling, excess trimmings for money, I switched from just a 20 low, which is what I use, 20 long, to a 29 for the hat tank.
Yep.
And I got this. I don't know if you can even tell, but it's an expensive light. I had to really like break down because usually I'm buying like a $20 light on Amazon or using shop lights. But a
Yeah.
lot of shop lights, can lights, and then like Night Crew makes some nice lights. Aquanit makes some nice lights on Amazon that are only like 20 to $40. So this one was about 200. It's weak aqua, but it's pretty brilliant. It'll take me a couple years to pay it off, but trying to think about that.
Yeah, no. When I did saltwater, I paid like $200 a light, and I bought 2 of them, and I hated
Oh yeah,
spending money.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
then I
thought
sold
about
them.
buying some more expensive ones. It's hard for me to spend that money on lights, but I
The
know
same
people that
way.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could
Um,
get 3 pretty rare pairs of Apistos shipped in for $200. So it's hard for me to spend that on lights when I could get some Apistos I really want.
I'm the same way. I
But
sold those lights after I was done with saltwater tank, and I bought more fish.
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's always everything's got an opportunity cost. You spend on lights, you're not spending on fish. So I did
Yep.
it for this tank. Been thinking about it for a long time. I'm pretty happy with it. So, but
All right.
still got a few Apistos I got to breed.
All right. We got 2 more questions, and we'll let you
Oh,
go.
okay.
How many types of Achilles do you breed, or how much? Yeah, how many types?
I've
Do you have?
done different numbers of Achilles over the years. So right now upstairs I've got Fundopanchex Gardneri, which I know they're all scientific names for Achilles. I used to not be at all comfortable with that, but in the club there are a bunch of guys who are really into Achilles, and they really don't have common names. If they get a common name, it's only because they're in a fish store. Like you'll read the common names online, but nobody uses those that I know. So just jump in. By the way, I don't know Latin. Nobody ever taught me. I just asked the old guys in the club, and just go for it. Just dive in. 100% of people are probably wrong. We don't know how the Romans did it. Just jump in. But so the Gardneri upstairs, they're super easy, big chunky Killia. I'm not allowed to take you upstairs on video because my wife and kids are up there and it's a big mess. But you can look them up, Gardneri. They're a great one, super easy. I've got 3 different species of Nothos, but none of them have mates right now. That's the problem with Nothos. Nothos are the true annual. So they will occasionally live longer than a year, 15 months. So I've heard stories of a few years, but that is a rare exception. These fish in the wild live 3 to 9 months, with rare exceptions in the wild. They live fast, short lives. They're beautiful, the males are, and all they do is eat and spawn. And then you save the eggs. So I've got eggs from all 3 of these species that now I need to hatch out and grow back new groups. Or do my best to. The D-Rama I started with are a hard one. So we're up to 4. I've got the Splendiplur. I've got the Volcano Achilles. I think that's it right now. Uh, I'm really spoiled in St. Louis because of our big club. We've got a guy who just breeds Cories. He's got 125 species of Cories. He sells them really cheap because he doesn't ship. He just sells them locally. And then we've got 2 guys that are really into Achilles, who are big with the American Killifish Association. They often go to their annual show. And we had it in St. Louis in 2021. We're trying to get it here again. I think we're going to get it in 2026. I think we have it, actually. I should know. I'm on council. But so we're going to get that back. You can get all kinds of amazing Achilles there. They're out there. They're just almost all hobbyist to hobbyist. So what you have to do is get involved and join the American Killifish Association. You can get on various bands. There's a Killifish band. Our band has some, and a couple of the members do sell more regularly ship fish than I do. But it's really about who you know. Getting on those smaller forums because there are very few like the Clown Killie that are coming through fish farms and the Golden Wonder. Almost none of the others come in fish farms. So you won't find them in any regular store. So you just got to get on the internet. I don't personally. I've had a lot of trouble with Aquabid. I like hobbyists. There's some good bands out there. Missouri Aquarium Society is one. So we can't use Facebook for selling fish anymore. In fact, the American Killifish Association got deleted off Facebook because people were buying and selling fish still on there after Facebook banned sales.
Oh.
So that's why we started a band back in like 2018 or 19. That's when it happened, because we were doing people were doing lots of person-to-person fish sales on Facebook.
Well, I feel like Facebook made sales a lot easier for fish.
Yeah.
It's so much simpler to sell fish on Facebook. And then ever since they banned it, it's been a pain in the butt. And then.
Yeah. And so you got a bunch of small bands where we got thousands of people on our Facebook, right? We have about 1,000 on band now, but it's only about 200, 250 that are active on there.
Yeah, but
still you get some sales, you get people selling some cool fish.
Yeah, but the band's layout, I feel like, is horrible.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It's a free app where we're allowed to sell fish, so.
Yeah, I know. But try to get through it sometimes. Like, I can only see like one day's worth of posts, and it's like I hate being for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's Facebook's loss in a lot of ways, but they banned all animal sales. So there you go. I understand not selling tigers. I understand not selling illegal animals, poisonous animals, things like that. But come on, fish eggs. Fish eggs. You can't sell Notho eggs on Facebook. It's just ridiculous.
No, I agree. Joe has one question for you. Where can he get North of Steve? Whatever the hell that means.
What is it?
Northos Guntherite. I'm guessing that was his daughter.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Guntherite actually just got again. So I produced a ton of Guntherite back in like 2020, 2021. I sold like 40 pairs of Guntherite at the AKA when it was here. That's the easiest one. That's the one I recommend starting with. So I actually just got some eggs. They're not due to hatch until next month, but I'm going to try and get those going again because we have the AKA coming here in 2026. I remember now. That's why I ordered them. Nobody in the area had them anymore, unfortunately, because most people weren't collecting the eggs and keeping them. They're beautiful fish. You can just keep them on their own. But I collect eggs. So Racovii, I didn't get those on Aquabid. Maybe I did. Maybe I wrote down and got them on Aquabid.
Okay.
So we'll see. Eggs are pretty easy to mail. Look for an American seller, though. I've had a lot of bad luck getting eggs internationally. Just coming and being just Pete, nothing else. No eggs visible anywhere. No eggs hatch. Can't always find them. Usually can see some of them at least, but no eggs hatch. I got them from a guy in Wisconsin. Don't remember his name, but he was selling a lot on Aquabid a couple years ago. So hopefully I'm going to start reproducing those again. Again, eggs are really easy to ship, so I don't mind shipping eggs. So yeah, I've got Racovii. I've got just recently the male just aged out pretty suddenly, but I've got a bunch of backlog on eggs for those. And then I've got another one, Kilimbarensis, which I'm going to try hatching out here again soon. Still got the female, but I lost my male. Sorry with just one pair, but I think I've got a lot of eggs. So we should get those guys back. Racovii is the one everybody wants, but here's the problem with Racovii. It's a little bit prettier than Guntherite. It's the one that's the picture of it. If you ever see a picture of Achille, that's like the one.
Yep.
But they have a 9-month incubation.
Wow.
So you are going to forget about those eggs before they're ready. I keep all mine in a row by date. And I sell some extras, but I'm not selling it right now until I get my pairs going again. But that's the thing with Nothos. They are true annual. Again, in the wild, they live 3 to 9 months on average. The rains stop. All the adults die when it dries out. Rains come back again in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. They hatch out again. It's amazing, amazing process that any animal can live. Any fish can live in a place where it's completely dry for 9 months of the year. Not insane? So to me, that's so cool. And most people won't keep them because they are true annual. They are going to age out. But you just give them a little jar with some coconut, some Zoomed coconut core in it, just like a couple inches in a little jar in their tank. You have to boil it. It's not hard. And swap that out about every 2 weeks. You can wait longer. You'll just have more eggs in there, but 2 weeks is kind of the norm. You can do it more often too if you want, but I swap them out. I aim for 2 weeks. It usually ends up being 3 weeks, so you just have more fry in there. You put those eggs away. You let it dry out so it's no longer drippy but still moist. Put it away in a Ziploc bag. Label it. I throw it in my basement storage room. I keep them on a shelf. It's not hard. I just stick them in the back when they're the newest ones rather. So I take from the front, right, when I'm ready to hatch some or sell them. So they're closer to their hatch time. And you got to write on there when you collected them. So you know about when it's time to hatch them out. Then you just put them in 2 inches of water, feed them baby brine shrimp. Every Notho I've worked with can take a baby brine shrimp straight away. It's crazy though, because they're barely bigger than a baby brine shrimp. They're just a big mouth when they're babies.
They're tiny too. They hatch them so little.
Yeah, they're tiny. I've watched them eat brine shrimp. You can also feed them microworms. Vinegar eels are really nice because vinegar eels swim around. You can go smaller too. You know, I've used paramecium. Paramecium are easy to culture. But I mean, every day I'm doing baby brine shrimp, so that's what I have always ready to go. So,
Yep.
and I've watched even the tiniest ones. I'll put just like a couple little shrimp in there. It's like a drop, and I'll watch those babies to make sure they can eat them. And you will see this little tiny baby come up to what looks like a large brine shrimp, but just wrong. You can see its belly's golden. It's great.
Well, that's the one thing
Anyway.
I love about baby brine is you know they ate it because their bellies go gold.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how you know they're eating. That's my favorite thing about baby brine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're not really culturing it. You always have to buy eggs. Like microworms, I've had the same culture going for 5 or 6 years. I've been keeping paramecium just for a few months now, but they seem to be really easy. And then I've had the same culture of vinegar eels. I thought I'd lost it because I forgot about it for a while. It was like a year old. I assumed it was totally bad.
Yep.
Full of vinegar eels. So I reset it. They're just going again. That's the easiest one to have. And they're great. They're just a pain to harvest, but I just harvest with a brine shrimp net. I know I'm not getting all of them when I sweep through, but I get a lot. And that's a nice one because they swim. I've been using those more for the labyrinths because the labyrinths bit fry tend to stay up at the top.
Yep.
Microworms are great for cories. They're great for apistos because they go straight down to the bottom. But anyway. All right, man. Thanks for having me on. I got to go tuck kids in.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
It's awesome to be on your live stream.
I appreciate it. Well, thank you, man. You have a great night, and I'll talk to you later on once you get your stuff count fish, I guess.
Yeah. I'll check on that when I get the kids down for the night.
All right. No problem, brother. Thank you. You too. Bye. All right, guys. That was fun. I enjoyed it. Did you guys enjoy it? We've got 15 or 16 2-liter in gallon jugs of vinegar eels. Why do you have so much vinegar eels, Shirley? Shirley, how do I contract you? Contract you? Sure that's what you're looking for, Joe? You can reach out to Shirley on Facebook. Or email, whatever she prefers. All right, I guess we'll end this, guys, because I think Jeff's stream starts in like 10 minutes. So we'll check it. Actually, 10 minutes? 5 minutes. So I'm going to go to Jeff's stream, guys. I got to use the bathroom, get something to eat and drink real quick, and then I'll be over there. All right, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks for watching, guys. Try to get somebody for next Sunday, and have a great night.